right, people, today is Pet Trick Day. Watch Kristi Noem's dog play dead. No, everyone got very uncomfortable in the room when I said that. That's not funny, is it? She did kill a dog, though, Don Hooper from the Houston Conservative Forum. What are you going to do about it?
Cheer her on? I don't know.
Yeah, here, put that mic in front of your face. Don, have you ever been in studio? We have a full room here of people right now. For those of you just getting connected with us, we're on the radio, obviously. We're also live streaming. One of our awesome sponsors is here. My good buddy Derek Bingham is here from the from Higgins Boat Rub Company. And Don Hooper is here right now from Houston Conservative Forum. And Derek, you are well liked by everybody because you usually bring libations to parties. And Don, you not so much are liked by everybody because you often piss people off with your far-right political beliefs in city politics. So I thought it'd be good as kind of a yin and yang effect here, having both of you in the studio at the same time.
And we can all drink together.
Yeah, and we can all drink together. Here's my plan right now. I have this idea. We're preparing for a comedy show on Sunday to raise money for a very worthy cause. For those of you that do not know, this Sunday, 5 p.m., the Bad Astronaut Brewing Company, Chad Prather, Jesse Payton, Kenny Webster, Steve Johnson, Eric Knowles, many other people. And while we're there, Derek is going to give away, we're going to sell bottles of booze to raise money for $100. All the comedians will sign it. I think that's very cool. Or for $150, none of us will sign it. I think that'd be even better. And you're bringing the, can you hold the bottle up for the camera here? I want people to see what it looks like. Yes, hold it a little closer there. Look at that. Yum. That is good rum. That is, and it is a World War II theme, if I'm not mistaken. Here, talking to the mic there. You got a mic in front of you? Yes, get that in front of you, Derek. Very good. Yeah, I know. There's too much here. Move it around. Sorry, we should have planned this better.
Okay.
Never a dull moment here.
Electronic gear. And
All right, yeah.
Derek, explain to me. You're going to make a drink. Here's my plan. My plan is you get us liquored up right now while we're on the radio.
More entertaining.
And then Don Hooper, who has hot gossip about Harris County politics that he's not supposed to share on the radio, will be nice and he'll be juiced up. The juice is loose. And then maybe he'll be more lenient on what he's willing to tell us. Does that sound like a good plan to you, Derek?
That sounds like a great plan.
I think so, too. What are we making right now, Derek?
First thing we're going to make is what's called a corn and oil. Corn and oil is traditionally made with a dark rum, but it's amazing with our reserve rum. I'm workshopping with some Coast Guard guys a name to kind of a tribute to the Coasties because they're the ones that piloted the Higgins boats. And again, our brand is named after the Higgins boat, the landing craft from D-Day. And it's a tribute to my grandfather's and great uncle's service in World War II. And we go 10% of our profits go to veterans charities.
Both of my grandpas also served in World War II.
Awesome.
Did we talk about this last time you were here?
I think we did a little bit, yeah.
My grandpa John's job, because he spoke fluent Italian, was to go to Italy and convince all the American GIs to come home to their wives, which was it was necessary. They're like, look, Dale, I know you love, you got Marie back in America. I'm sure you love Isabella, but you've got to come home now. The war is over. That was his job. What did your grandpa do during World War II?
So one of my grandpas was a little young at the start of the war, ended up in the Merchant Marines and just was, on the ships that brought a whole lot of the stuff over to support the war effort. And then my other grandpa landed in France shortly after D-Day and then fought all the way through the Battle of the Bulge in the Army.
Wow, that's hardcore. You got family that were military veterans?
Well, my dad was in World War II. He was a Navy medic. Served almost, probably 3.5 years, I think.
Why? Where did they send him?
Oh, he was all over the South Pacific.
Yeah.
And he was pretty young when he signed up, and then he went through. He had always wanted to go to medical school, and he later did become a doctor. But so he went through medical training, which took him a little bit longer to get into the field. But he was in the South Pacific.
Okay, well that's hardcore. That was
very hardcore.
It was wild over there. Apparently, there were literally nuclear bombs going off, which is not something that most wars could say. I think that's the only war where we ever had nuclear weapons, that we know of.
Right.
All right. So, Don, for those that don't know I would describe the Houston Conservative Forum like this. You are a guy that publishes information that is brutally honest about what is going on in Southeast Texas politics, a political scene where there's millions, if not billions of dollars on the line at any given moment. And you have published some information over the years that has really upset some people because they did not want people to know the things that you were willing to report on. Am I accurately describing what you do?
Yeah, and so I started with the Big Jolly, and I wrote on Big Jolly Politics back when Big Jolly was the largest political publication or online publication in Texas. We had about 1 million people a week that would come to it and read it from all over the state. And then David Jennings, the founder of it, eventually quit, and I took over and wrote for it for about 5.5 years, I think, before I started the Houston Conservative Forum. But I was always on KTRH radio in the mornings for a long time. I wrote on the Houston Conservative Forum for many years. Don't really write that much anymore. Recently sold my company, and then my wife is the current general counsel of the Republican Party of Texas, but I'm still very active in politics in Texas.
Okay, so at some point, you retired from your day job and you started doing politics. You treat your hobby like it's a full-time job, right? Is that a good way to explain it?
Well, now and then I kind of got started in my professional career in real estate development, which is being in politics. There's no way you can develop real estate without being in politics, and I did that for a very long time. Actually worked in the lobby side of the world of a real estate group, and then eventually moved back to Houston. I lived in California. I lived all over actually all over the world at one point, but came back to Houston and started working with a group of people, including Alan Blakemore and Dan Patrick.
I cover politics nationally, regionally, and locally. I do state politics, I do regional politics, and so I don't always know every little intricate detail about what's going on. For those that don't know who Don is a guy I call on the phone when I have a real meticulous question about something going on.
You're kind.
Last week, yes, I am kind, thank you. Last week we had a rally for these kids from Stratford High School. It was huge. Thousands of people came out. Some Democrat from the Spring Branch Democrats doxed these kids.
Nancy Herpen.
Published personal information about them on the internet.
Yes, she did.
Now she's playing victim. And in response to this, a lot of people came out to support. Abraham George was there. He's the chairman of the Texas Republican Party. Michael Berry, probably one of the biggest talk radio show hosts in America, if not in Texas. Ken Paxton, the flipping attorney general, was there.
Kenny Webster was there.
And I was there too, right. A humble part of a very big event. One group of people I noticed were not there was the Harris County Republican Party, which is weird because this was a national news story about Harris County Republicans, and none of them were anywhere in sight. I assumed they did not show up because they didn't want to be associated with Ken Paxton. You have a different theory.
Well, it's part of that theory. I think that the Harris County Republican Party, for the most part, is much more aligned on the opposite side of the Charlie Kirk, Ken Paxton realm. But what did you want me to talk about in particular?
What was your theory about why they weren't there?
Oh, I think that they didn't want to show up because it had been exposed that there were people who, well, Ms. Herpen in particular, she's the vice president of the Spring Branch Democrats, had voted in the Republican primary, which I have been accusing the Harris County Republican Party for several years that they were recruiting people, Democrats, to vote in the Republican primary to elect moderates or left-leaning Republicans.
Okay, so for whatever it's worth, this is a big problem in the Texas Republican Party. We have open primaries. Part of the people always wonder, how is it this big red state has all these squishy liberal Republicans, John Cornyn, whatever you think of Greg Abbott, Dan Patrick, how is it you guys elect these people that aren't staunch conservatives on a statewide level? Why is it that the Speaker of the House is always a liberal Republican that works with the Democrats? And the short answer is, in your opinion, open primaries, which is bigger than the Stratford High School thing last week.
Oh, it is. And Dade Phelan was in a huge battle to retain his House seat. In that, you had about, 2,300, it could have been 2,700 Democrats crossed over to vote in that runoff election, where he retained his seat just barely. He won by 166 votes, I think, or maybe two. I can't remember exactly what it was, but we could document people with Democratic voting histories voting in that runoff election, and
And the results speak for themselves. It's why we get squishy Republican judges and stuff like that. I'll tell you what, we got to take a break. Derek Bingham is here right now from Higgins Boat Rum Company. He's going to talk to us about booze in just a second. Don Hooper is here from the Houston Conservative Forum. I have a feeling you've already upset a few people with what you just said on the radio. Quick break. We'll be right back.
Hello, my name is Pedro. My favorite things to do are smuggle drugs, procreate like a rabbit, and listen to Pursuit of Happiness Radio with producer Keeney. He's stupid.
All right, we are in between segments right now. If you're watching us live streaming on social media, Rob Reese in the building, taking off. Love you, buddy. Let's explain what's going on here behind the scenes real quick. First of all, we're preparing for this comedy show on Saturday. This is going to be sick. Operation Comedy Therapy 2025. Still a few tickets available for this. We'd love to get all those sold before this weekend. We want everybody to go. Tickets are cheap. You can make a donation, wheelchairsforwarriors.org. It's for a very good cause. We're trying to pay for wheelchairs. Now, one very awesome person that's been supporting this event for us is my buddy Derek Bingham. He can be seen right here on camera. And Derek, you are mixing drinks for us live in the studio with Higgins Boat Rum. Can you explain? Hold up to this camera because that camera sucks over there. Explain to us what's going on. What are you doing here?
All right, so we just made what's traditionally called a corn and oil. It has a spirit called falernum. I like John D. Taylor's Velvet Falernum.
Okay.
It's kind of like a lime, ginger, sugar spiced rum. That's a little lower ABV than our rum is. But you take a half ounce of that, 2 ounces of our reserve rum, and then a splash of Angostura bitters. And it's basically kind of like a Caribbean old fashioned.
A Caribbean old fashioned. You had me at old fashioned. I love that. I love it. All right, he's bringing this over to me right now. Yum. Love this. Peep that. Peep the technique. All right, so
cheers, Skinny.
This rum is, you describe it as being like a rum for bourbon drinkers. Can you explain what that means?
Yes. So we purposely set out to make a rum for the Texas bourbon drinker, and so
it's good.
It's outstanding.
We age it in charred white oak American barrels, just like you would a bourbon, and then we don't put any molasses back into it, which a lot of other aged rums do. And so it's a drier rum. It's like a slightly sweet bourbon, but it still has that rum flavor to it.
I mean, I always think of rum as being really sweet. This is not really sweet.
No.
And is that intentional?
It is. Yes.
Are some rums too sweet in your opinion?
For my palate, yes. Yeah.
Why is that an American thing? What do you make of that? Why does that happen?
Often people add like molasses back into it, or even like sugar just back into the rum. Because
I've completely messed up this camera. Keep talking.
It's okay, but
ignore what I'm doing.
No, it's a lot of rums often do add molasses and sugar and things like that back into them, and a lot of people like that, especially in some cocktails. It works well. But I wanted to make a good sipping rum. We actually later this fall we're going to have our XO rum come out that's been aged 10 years and used bourbon barrels. It's done at 101 proof, but it drinks really smooth at that, and it is excellent with a good cigar.
All right, so you have rum that's been aging for 10 years, but the company's not 10 years old.
So we have partnered with a Gulf Coast distillery that has a second generation Cuban master distiller, master blender, and he provides our kind of blend of our rum for us, and then we use the technology at Persado in Alvin, Texas, to make it exceptional.
I love that.
Bottle it there.
Well, you do a good job. What do you think of this, Don? You could drink the best booze in the world. Do you like alcohol? Or I pressured you into drinking with us today.
Oh no, I partake in libations. I used to. I'm gonna. So I mentioned that I lived all over the world. One of the places I lived was San Juan, Puerto Rico, and I literally lived right next door to Comal Bacardi.
Isn't that Puerto Rico? That's just a giant floating pile of garbage in the middle of the ocean.
It is.
Yeah.
And
that's the joke that got Tony Hinchcliffe into trouble at a Trump rally.
I was over there for business purposes, but it's a very interesting place, but a very violent place. There's a lot of gangs. There were when I lived there. I don't know if it's still true today. I assume that it is. But
speaking of violent places, we're in the commercial break right now. When we go back on the air, can I talk about where I saw you on Saturday or no? Or is that a secret?
Oh, no, you can talk about it.
All right, I want to tell that story because something really interesting happened right before I ran into you. All right, stand by, everybody. We're going back live right now. Hey, real quick, before we do that, where can people get this alcohol at?
So we are now, Higgins Boat Rum is in Total Wine in Baybrook, so off 45 south of the Beltway. We just got in there. When you go there, they only got a reserve right now because apparently computer makes their decisions. So if you go in there, tell them you love it and tell them you want our silver there too. You can get us, like on our website, it's got a list of a lot of other places that carry us. We're going to be on Pier 6, a great restaurant kind of south of Houston on their cocktail menu starting today.
And can people order it online if they're in?
Order it at
for our listeners in
HigginsBoatRum.com.
Georgia and Lafayette and all those places. I love that.
They can.
All right,
They
we're going back on. Stand by, everybody. Oh, this is interesting. McDonald's is bringing back the Monopoly game pieces after a decade. People are pretty excited about it, but I don't know why. I don't think it's a big deal. That burger they just served you was under a heat lamp for 2 decades. I think that's impressive. What the hell is in that food? Don Hooper, Houston Conservative Forum. Have you ever seen someone who pull an old cheeseburger out of a cabinet that's been in there for years and it never ages? Does that make you want to eat McDonald's?
No.
No, it doesn't. Derek, best fast food place. Where do you go?
I don't eat a lot of fast food these days. Usually I just get like some burger patties from Whataburger when I'm on the road if I need something to eat.
You lift.
I do.
Don't you have like on a lift day, isn't it? That's a day when you can do a lot of calories, right?
I don't measure anything.
Oh, well, this is awkward because I do. Feverishly, I measure things.
I mean, I've spent enough time paying attention to nutrition to where I kind of have a feel for it. And but I eat high amounts of red meat and then like honey, fruit, and raw dairy, and that's about it.
I measure everything. I always think it's important to start at the base. That's just my opinion. All right, let's talk about this for a minute. I want to tell a story about you real quick, Don. Saturday evening, I have nothing going on. So I walk down the street to a steakhouse not far from where I live. It's one of my favorite places to eat. It's called King Ranch Steakhouse. This is not a commercial for King Ranch Steakhouse. I love eating there. Women hate it. Never bring a woman there on a date. They will not be impressed by it. It's a Tillman Fertitta Steakhouse. They're like, I don't want to go. It looks like Texas Roadhouse. It does. It's a fancy version of Texas Roadhouse. Anyway, I'm sitting out on the patio, and there's a Hispanic gentleman in his 20s sitting not far away from me with his girlfriend. And I'm just going to describe to you what I saw. It's not politically correct, as they used to say in the 90s. 2 black guys get kicked out of the restaurant. They're in their 20s. I don't know what their names were. I have no idea. Ron Trelon and Trayvon. Who knows? Like very gangster looking black. Not like, we're not talking about like, it wasn't like Ben Carson or anything like that. These looked like they were in a gang. Were being kicked out for bad behavior. And before leaving the parking lot, they turn their attention to the Hispanic gentleman that is on a date, sitting out on the patio. We're the only ones out there. Me, one of my friends, and these 2 at the other end. And they start saying things to his girlfriend. And immediately, this guy stands up. He feels that his manhood has been challenged. So he reaches down. He's got a gun right here. I was like, this is it. This is how I die. I'm going to die on the patio of a mid-price steakhouse. I was like, I can't. This is it. I can't. I came down here to get a cheap filet. And cheap is that is how I will die.
Can you move it over to B&B Butchers real quick?
Exactly, yeah. Can I die at Mastro's, for crying out loud? So anyway, as soon as this happens, cops pull up. It gets crazy out there. Management runs out. The woman in charge of the restaurant starts lecturing them. They all go their different way. Cops come. They get arrested. It's very dramatic. And then as soon as that ends, prominent members of the Republican Party start showing up to go to a party in this banquet hall at the restaurant, including you, Don Hooper, from the Houston Conservative Forum. What were you guys doing there?
You saw a bunch of Republicans there, but there were many, many Democrats there, and it was Kim Ogg's birthday.
It was Kim Ogg, our former district attorney. Now, you know how conspiracy theorists are on the internet. I'm sitting on the me, Kenny Webster, local right-wing comedian and talk show host, is sitting on the patio where just coincidentally, the former DA is having a birthday party, where just coincidentally, 3 gangbangers are getting into a gunfight in the parking lot. Now, people are blaming Israel for Charlie Kirk's murder. You know what I'm saying? Like, people will come up with some far-fetched nonsense to spin a narrative. If something had happened, if someone had died there with Kim Ogg in that building having her birthday, me on the patio, and these gangbangers in the parking lot, Don, how would people on Twitter have reacted to that?
Well, I didn't know that I missed all this when I saw you, but yeah, when I walked into the event, I could clearly see there were a bunch of bodyguards there, all heavily armed, and most of the Republicans, I'm sure, were armed. I carry a gun. My wife carries a gun. We were all armed, and I'm glad I don't run into those situations because, quite frankly, I don't want to have to shoot anybody.
You get along with Kim Ogg.
I do.
Kim Ogg is kind of those don't know what you got till it's gone politicians.
Yeah.
Eric Adams in New York City. He's another one, the outgoing mayor in New York City. We all hated him when he showed up. Nobody liked Kim Ogg when she got into office. Then she left, and we were like, man, can we get the reasonable Democrat back?
I would say that's true. And you have to think about, well, it wasn't true at the time, but my wife was appointed to be the special prosecutor against Lena Hidalgo by a Democrat.
Right.
So the current general counsel of the Republican Party, and she wasn't the general counsel when she was appointed, winds up being the special prosecutor against Lena.
All right, a little inside baseball for a minute. I like Ken Paxton. I think he's the best attorney general we've ever had. I certainly don't agree with everything he's ever done. Kim Ogg built this fantastic case, working with the Texas Rangers, to prove that Lena Hidalgo and her staff members were involved in a bid rigging scheme to take millions of dollars away from the federal government for a COVID vaccine outreach program contract that should have been assigned to the University of Texas, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
And in the end, it went to some lady that lives above a bong shop in Montrose.
Felicity Perea, who's currently running for the school board.
Right, exactly. It wasn't literally a bong shop, but like that kind of an operation. Like, why is this woman who's never done this before that lives in Montrose with a staff of... At some point, Ken Paxton dropped all the charges after Kim Ogg handed the case over to her.
Well, Kim was leaving office. The prosecution hadn't moved forward. The judge hadn't moved it forward, and handed it off to Ken and assigned it to a prosecutor in his office. And and when it was assigned to the prosecutor in his office, I later learned who she was. I wasn't a particular fan of hers. I made it known, but I think Ken allowed some of his staffers to make a decision that didn't sit well with me. It certainly didn't sit well with my wife or Kim about it. But I will say that Ken gave my wife and Kim Ogg his explanation of it, and they kind of agreed with, not that the case was bad, that there was probably prosecutorial discretion on his staff's part to do that. And
all right, now we need your professional opinion here. When you're frustrated about a public officer doing something you don't like, what's the right kind of rum to drink?
Good rum.
Yeah, Higgins.
Exactly. Higgins boat.
Derek Bingham, Higgins boat rum.
Yeah, and then if you mix it with some good syrups and things like that, you can make a good cocktail.
And then you won't be so pissed off
Exactly.
that another crony politician got away with millions of dollars of my money. And I would have gotten away with it too if it wasn't for you damn rum distillers.
Exactly.
I will say it was kind of interesting at Kim's birthday. I was sitting with the former first assistant, and we were talking about, and there were a lot of people from the public corruption group within Kim Ogg's office there, and Kim, prosecuted quite a bit of public corruption, and all of those cases, the ones that she didn't finish, we don't believe that the current district attorney, Sean Tier, has one single public corruption case going. And
how can that be true, Don? That's insane.
No,
there's not one single public corruption in one of the most corrupt political cities in the country. There's nothing.
Well, you have to think James Comey sent down this guy named Perry Turner to head the Houston field office for the FBI, a large field office. The Houston office is very big, special agent in charge. And his specific instruction was not to investigate certain politicians for public corruption. And hardly anything happened on the federal side at all the entire time that he was here. And he was here a long time. And then Kim started investigating cases. Now, I will say Devin Anderson didn't really investigate public corruption either, the prior Republican.
When you look at the who's running for county judge right now in Harris County, who the Republicans are, Marty Langton, that's your firefighter union president. This woman's the mayor of Piney Point.
Mm-hmm.
What's her name?
You
know what?
Audrey. gonna get it wrong.
Is there someone else? There's two other people running.
Yeah, there's Warren Howell.
Who do you like?
Oh, I like I've known Marty a very long time, and Orlando Sanchez is running.
In Orlando Sanchez. Now, don't you think it's interesting that most Republicans in Houston right now want a government union leader to be our county judge? How much Trump has changed this party in 10 years?
Well, it is unusual, and I never thought of Marty as being somebody that was tied to his union.
I've already endorsed him. I think he's great. I'm not trying to besmirch the guy, but isn't that an interesting pick?
It is, and Marty, when I'm asked that, I've been asked that question before. When Marty decided to run, people on the Republican side were quickly pointing out his union ties, but I will say he went toe-to-toe with Sylvester Turner, a huge union guy, for years. Some would argue, well, I'm not, ultimately he won that fight.
Do you think there's any truth to the rumor that Sylvester Turner's still alive and he's planning another Astro World Music Festival? Don, go ahead.
No, I don't think he.
But can you prove it?
No, probably not. But I one of the reasons why I really love Marty is because he fought so hard against Sylvester and the absolute corruption that was going on at City Hall.
That was how we all learned to love Marty,
right?
And Turner tried to pit him and the cops against each other.
Absolutely.
And isn't it interesting? As soon as he's announced his candidacy, the police unions come out and endorsed him.
I was shocked about that because I definitely had conversations with the HPOU over the years when Marty was going toe to toe, but the police union had gotten some really big contract victories when Marty got nothing, and because he got nothing, they were rewarded more, and ultimately they lowered the pension. I think by the fire union pension $785 million, and a lot of that money went to the police officers union.
Do you remember when James Brown died? They took his body on tour around the country.
I do remember.
You know what I'm about to ask you, don't you?
No.
When Turner died. When Turner died, they took his body from Washington, D.C. to Houston, Texas. Then they brought it up to Austin. Then they brought it back to Houston. Who does he think he is? He's not the hardest working man in entertainment.
No.
You, sir, are
no Sheila Jackson Lee.
You
that's
are
for
no
sure.
Sheila Jackson Lee. I'm Kenny Webster. Derek, poor Derek, didn't deserve any of this. It's Tuesday, guys. We're having a little bit of fun here, and I appreciate everybody for being here. Quick reminder, folks, we have a comedy show on, that's the wrong thing on the screen there. We're having a comedy show on Sunday, October 5th. The Bad Astronaut Brewing Company. One of our sponsors is here, Derek Bingham. Derek, this is an amazing cocktail. You did awesome. I'll let you get the last word before we go. Houston Conservative Forum. What's the website, Don? How do they find you? Just follow you on X, I guess.
Yes, follow me on X.
Derek, we got to run, but you're a sponsor. You're a great guy, and you're doing a lot of good for charity. I want people to know about you before we leave.
Yeah, Higgins Boat Rum, higginsboatrum.com. You can buy our bottles there if you're not in Southeast Texas. Stocking locations are on there. Follow us on social media for cocktail recipes. We're Higgins Boat Rum on Facebook and Instagram, and see what we're up to.
I will say this about Piney Point, that mayor over there. When I go to Piney Point, I don't see any homeless people. I don't see any vandalism. How does she do it, Don Hooper?
Well, I think much the same way West University and all the Memorial Villages do it. They can focus more on police work.
The average income in that town is like $500,000 a year.
Yeah, and
that's all we got to do. If we had that in the rest of Houston, we'd all be like Piney Point.
Well, and they have conservative leadership, which means they don't have DEI in their police department.
It's amazing. I'm Kenny Webster. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. Have a great day.
You are listening to the Pursuit of Happiness Radio. Tell the government to kiss your ass when you listen to this show.